Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. The Tyson Fury vs Arslan Bekmambetov card has been fully announced. It's a very, very long card. This one's going to start early afternoon and run all through the night. One thing I will say is it is majority preliminary fights. There's only 3 that have been put on the main card. So it is a risk because if we get a Riches and Hitchens versus Oscar Duarte type incident, this card is going to take a massive, massive hit, especially because none of those prelims really are worthy of going on the main card. So it is a risk. The prelims, I like it being that long because it's very rare we go into a fight night where a fight hasn't been scratched off the bill. So I like the early prelims being that long. I'll put it up on screen, the early prelims. The main card will be Conor Benn versus Regis Prograis as the co-main. It's going to be a 150-pound catch weight. We also have Jeamie TKV versus Richard Riakporhe for that British heavyweight title. And we've got Justis Huni's return against Fraser Clark. 2 guys coming into this fight off the back of a loss. So we're going to talk about all of that. But if you all will first, head down there, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and at the end of the video, leave all your thoughts in the comments below. Let's get into it. First of all, those prelims are being shown on a network I've never ever heard of. It's called Tudum.com and the Ring Magazine social channels. I'm not sure why they don't just put it on Netflix, but we'll have to look into whatever that networking broadcaster is. But let's talk about the fights. I want to start with Conor Benn versus Regis Prograis, and we sort of already spoke about this fight when it was announced. But a 150-pound catch weight sort of is very strange to me. Now, it's going to be a massive advantage to Conor Benn. Regis Prograis is a small to good size super lightweight. You never say he was big for super lightweight. So even pushing to welterweight was always going to be a risk for Regis. Now we're looking at a catch weight between welterweight and super welterweight. So I think it massively benefits Conor Benn. My thing that I can't work out is why Conor Benn isn't competing at welterweight. He's continuously spoken about wanting to get a world championship and fight for a world championship at welterweight. Everybody hits him with the argument, well, you haven't competed there in 5 or 6 years. You haven't won there for ages. Why should you get that world title shot? So you'd expect him to come into this fight and at least compete at welterweight to give him some sort of ranking, some sort of, showcase of him at welterweight. But no, we've got a catch weight. And like I said, Regis Prograis is a small to medium super lightweight. He was not a big super lightweight. So this massively advantages Conor Benn, who's coming down from middleweight plus. So it is strange that Conor Benn doesn't just go 147. Like, you want a world championship there? Fight at 147. At least you'll give an argument to why you deserve a world title shot, even though I don't think he has any argument for a world title shot, especially at welterweight. All right, Jeamie TKV versus Richard Riakporhe for the British heavyweight title. I think it's a very, very good fight, but you know what? This one here and Fraser Clark versus Justis Huni, it runs the same risk, both of them. They've invested a lot on this main card of heavyweight boxing, and heavyweight boxing can either be the best boxing in the world, or they can gas out after 2 rounds, and we're looking at a slugfest and a slow, boring fight that you just wish will be over sooner rather than later. But we don't know that until the fights actually happen. This one here, it's going to be a good test for Richard Riakporhe. Jeamie TKV, we know what his level is. All right, we know what he is at heavyweight. He is a British level heavyweight fighter. Richard Riakporhe moving up from cruiserweight, where, he was in good fights there. The biggest fight was Chris Billam-Smith, which he lost, but he was in some big fights there. Moving up to heavyweight, he's only had 2 contests at heavyweight, and he's only fought 6 rounds at heavyweight. He knocked out Tommy Welch in 2 rounds quite easily, dropped him 3 or 4 times in that fight, and beat Espindola in 4 odd rounds as well. So not a lot of work there for Richard Riakporhe, and although I don't put Jeamie TKV much higher than a British, Commonwealth, maybe even European level fighter, it's still a test for Richard Riakporhe because Jeamie TKV is the best heavyweight he has faced up until this point. And Jeamie TKV, what is he going to be? 20, 30 pounds bigger than Richard Riakporhe, going off previous weights at heavyweight. So it will be a good test for Richard Riakporhe. I would initially back Richard Riakporhe to win the fight. Like I said, I don't rate Jeamie TKV that highly. The fight against Fraser Clark was a very close fight. I thought Jeamie TKV didn't start great at all, and I thought Fraser Clark was going to make quite light work of it, and then Fraser Clark gassed out, and Jeamie TKV ended up almost knocking him out. And then you also look at other results like the David Adelaide fight, and you look at some, problems in Jeamie TKV's game. So I think it'll be a very close fight. Don't get me wrong, I'm not riding off Jeamie TKV. It's heavyweight boxing. Richard Riakporhe is very untested at heavyweight. So Jeamie TKV will probably go into the fight as the favourite, but I'm backing Richard Riakporhe early doors. And finally, opening the main card of Arslan Bekmambetov versus Tyson Fury is Justis Huni versus Fraser Clark. I think this is a great matchup. These 2 guys are at very similar points in their career. Yes, there's a bit of an age gap, 34 years of Fraser Clark, 26 of Justis Huni, but they're 12 and 13 fights respectively in professional game. They were both supposed to go to the Tokyo Olympics. Justis Huni was unable to go, but Fraser Clarke did compete. So they're at very similar levels in their professional career. They've also had a similar opponent. They've both taken on Fabio Wardley and both had success against Fabio Wardley. Fabio Wardley is now the world champion. Fraser Clarke arguably beat him in the first one, gets destroyed in the second one. Justis Huni, fights 10 rounds against the guy, wins 9 of them, drops 1 round, and unfortunately that 1 round is the one that he gets knocked out in. But coming into this fight, I heavily put Justis Huni as the favourite. You look at the work rate of Fraser Clarke against Jeamie TKV. After about the 4th or 5th round, he was gassed and very lucky to get out of that fight without being knocked out. He gets a split decision loss, which actually, looks good on the resume considering how that fight ended. Justis Huni, though, although he gets knocked out in the 10th, winning 9 rounds against the world champion now at 26 years of age, that was a big step up for Justis Huni. I expect him to come into this fight, use all that experience that he's gained from that fight, and he's just the better fighter. He's the harder working fighter. He's got a better gas tank. Over 10 rounds, I expect him to fully outwork Fraser Clarke and win this fight. But it is heavyweight fighting, and you can never count out an opponent. Fraser Clarke's definitely got the power to knock out Justis Huni, but I think Justis Huni will take that learning experience from Fabio Wardley early doors, and I expect Justis Huni to get through this fight. But I think it's a fantastic fight on paper. I think this one will deliver. It will be interesting to see how both of them approach this fight, because Justis Huni, coming off that loss, might be a tentative start, a bit worried about what power's coming back. But if he can get back into the groove he was in against Fabio Wardley for those middle rounds, where he was basically untouchable, landing clean combinations continuously, he will cruise to victory, because I don't believe Fraser Clarke has that sort of stamina or work rate to be able to consistently go at Justis Huni over the course of 10 rounds. But I think it'll be a fantastic, fantastic fight, and we'll build up to these fights as it gets closer. But I'd love to know what you guys think of this card in the comments below. If you are new, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'm out of here, guys. Stay tuned this week. I'm trying to get a Opetaya versus Glanton preview done, which should hopefully drop later this week. I'm not going to tell you what day, because my schedule's all over the place with work and so forth. So I will let you know. But yes, please do subscribe, hit that notification bell, and like the video. I'm out of here, guys. See ya.